Welcome. Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another TravelMole broadcast. And I'm delighted this morning to have this young man, Reginald Charlot, with me. He's from New York City, and he's going to tell us all there is to know about New York City, I think. Well, not everything. Otherwise, we'd be here for a very long time, wouldn't we, Reginald? So good morning to you.
Good morning to you. How are you?
Not too bad. Reginald, as I understand it, you're hoping to get around about 63 million visitors to the city of New York this coming year or this year. That sounds huge amount of people. Well, obviously it is. It's a huge increase. Is this just a post-COVID demand going back to where it was, or is there new things that you're trying to project for the city? Have you used COVID to I know you've had a rebrand recently. We can go into that in a minute, but is there a new New York City, so to speak?
New York City, I would say New York City tourism is back. I mean, we had 57 million visitors coming to New York City, so we're fully back. Everybody's excited. That's the next exciting part. I think because of the pandemic, I think what's happened is that New York City has become a bucket list destination, maybe for the first time or again, for those who haven't been here or who have been here before. So I think that is part of the excitement, and people are really looking at it as, either looking at it as revenge travel, saying I haven't been to New York City in so many years because we were locked down, or I'm happy to go back to New York City because I'm going to stay longer and do longer stays. Also, as a result of the pandemic, also just because it's New York City, there have been a number of developments. So, I mean, you have things from like Summit One Vanderbilt that was built. You have Little Island, you have various neighborhoods. It's all about exploration. So things that are growing and happening there. So it's really, really exciting to see the city, kind of evolve and kind of welcome visitors back as we always do.
I noticed that you've just had a rebrand. You've got a new logo and something, other bits and bobs, I mean. Brand New York City, does it need a rebrand? I mean, everybody in the world has heard of New York City, haven't they?
Well, yes, I think for the organization itself, it was really, really key and significant for our organization to rebrand itself, to really kind of clarify and be very detailed as to what we do and how important tourism is. So now we're called New York City Tourism and Conventions. In the past, there was a lot of confusion as to what our name was. We were formerly known as NYC and Company. People thought we were a DMC. People thought we were a tour operator. People thought we were a clothing store. So this really kind of clarifies everything. And it took us, we went through the process of 15 months of kind of, speaking to people, interviewing people, asking the questions of what makes the most sense. And as simple as the name is, it is something that's very, very clear to who we are and what we do.
So as we would say in the UK, it does what it says on the tin.
Perfect. I'm going to use that. I'm going to take that back to New York.
Now, not to be the harbinger of doom, but hotel rates, restaurant bills, transportation, everything in the world seems to be going up. But there does seem to be a disproportionate rise in hotel rates, with maybe it's supply and demand. Does that worry you? Does that give you concern for maintaining numbers?
We're mindful of what's happening in the world, the currency fluctuations, inflations, things of that nature. So, and it's not, I guess we look at it from the point that it's not unique to New York City, but one of the key things is that we've seen and we've actually heard from the travel trade is that it's not stopping people from traveling to New York City. Yes, they're aware that things might be a little bit more expensive. However, because they've saved so much money over the past 2 years, they're willing to spend the extra on that experience, that flight, that hotel, that meal, just to have that experience because they want to come back to the city. And so, I know people some people may be mindful. I know that the inflation and the economy is kind of difficult for some people, but if they're coming to New York, they can look at our value proposition. So for value conscious travelers, they can come to New York City during the Q1, January, February, March. And, we offer various programs such as, New York City Winter Outing. That is an offer that goes through January, February, and March, which gives people, at 2-to-1 Broadway tickets. Restaurant week is included into the Winter Outing. Attraction week, must-see week So it has a lot of what you would want to be able to see at a much more reasonable or cost conscious price point. So, and also a lot of carriers who are coming into the market that are low cost carriers, such as Norse Air, that's coming into the market, that kind of helps make your trip to New York City, if you're conscious about the fluctuations, a little bit more reasonable in regards to spend.
Cool. Okay, with that as a background, that people, there's almost an inelastic demand for New York City. That's a large number of tourists by anybody's stretch of imagination. Is over tourism something that you're concerned about? I've been into New York City in the old days and found it difficult to walk down Fifth Avenue because there's so many people there, and sometimes you can't get into a restaurant, etc., etc. Is that something that concerns you, or are you trying to spread people away from Manhattan and go into the hood, so to speak?
Yes, well, that is something that is we're very mindful of. But the good thing is that New York City is a massively large city. So I think the re-education or reinforming or just letting people know that New York City is not only Manhattan. New York City is actually the 5 boroughs. So I know that some cities such as Amsterdam and the Venices are limited in regards to how they can absorb people, or even just being able to disperse people from the city center. So for New York City, we have been talking about this and saying this for years, is like to get people out and explore the other parts of the city, and focus on a particular neighborhood, a particular area. So we are mindful of over tourism, but we continue to promote and talk about the fact that people can explore the different neighborhoods, such as Cobble Hill in Brooklyn, Williamsburg in Brooklyn. You have Flushing in Queens. You have the South Bronx. You have St. George in Staten Island. You have the Upper West Side. You have Morningside Heights. You have Inwood in Manhattan. You have Lower Manhattan. So there are many areas that you can go and explore and see different things, especially for those visitors who have been to New York City, 1 or 2 or 3 times, just to go out and see a little bit more of what there is in the city.
Cool. Final question, not one that we've discussed. If I was coming to New York City for the first time tomorrow, where would you take me in one day, and what sort of meal would you give to me? What would you suggest I eat?
Wow, that is a very loaded question. But you want to go for just one day, and it's your first time coming to New York City. So if you're coming to New York City for the first time, I would suggest we take you to Midtown Manhattan, because I think Midtown Manhattan for a first-time visitor is a place that everyone has seen on TV, film. People have talked about. So you can see Times Square, you can see the various attractions that are there from the various museums. From MoMA, you'll be able to go to Summit, Rockefeller Center, Hudson Yards, Empire State Building, and just to kind of get that feel. And of course, I'll take you to a matinee at a Broadway show. And then after that, I would take you, after we explored Midtown, I would take you down a little bit further, down to Lower Manhattan, in the Soho Tribeca area, just to kind of give a walk around and kind of get that energy and that feel of local neighborhood. We would stop and have a nice little pop in and have a nice little coffee. Then we would make our way down across the Brooklyn Bridge. We would walk actually across the Brooklyn Bridge so you can take the glorious views of the Manhattan skyline. And then we would pop in and I would take you to my neighborhood, I would say my old neighborhood, but my neighborhood of Cobble Hill, Brooklyn. And there I would take you to a lovely restaurant called Lavara, and would have a fantastically wonderful Spanish tapas lunch there. And then I would take you to Colony for a lovely dessert afterwards. And then from there, we would take a nice stroll along the Brooklyn Bridge Park to wrap around to go back across the Brooklyn Bridge. But before we do that, we will stop at one hotel, Brooklyn Bridge, for a coffee, of course.
I can't wait to get there.
There you go. Let's go. Come on. Come and join me.
Good man. Reginald, thank you very much for your time. I know you're a busy man. You're flying back to the Big Apple this afternoon. So best of luck. Have a good flight. And I hope to speak to you soon.
Thank you so very much. Pleasure. See you soon.
Cheers.
See you in New York.
Indeed.